My name is Carmen and the channel is MANO Beyond Cancer. This is a space dedicated to all cancer survivors from around the world. In here, we share our experiences and we learn about this life after cancer.
Hello everyone. Today we are with Abigail Simon-Hart. She's going to tell us a little bit about her. Hi Abigail. So the first question is, who are you? What are you passionate about right now? And what is your favorite food?
My name is Abigail Simon-Hart. I'm a breast cancer survivor. I was diagnosed in 2014, 6 months after my mother passed from leukemia. So it was pretty soon after losing my mom. My favorite food, I think I would say Lebanese food, and I would say Japanese food is a close second. I love sushi. Right now, I'm very passionate about patient engagement and patient empowerment. But I think what has happened, especially in Africa, is that patients have always been told things. Things are done to patients rather than patients having a say in it. So I'm really passionate about patient empowerment, that patients actually get the opportunity to have a say, that patients actually get a chance to decide their own journey.
How was to have cancer in Nigeria?
When I was diagnosed in 2014, it's very different from the way it was now. Back then, people just didn't talk about it. In fact, when you would talk to cancer survivors or they'd go on television, they'd say, "Don't put it in my face, blank out my face." That's changing now. So you're finding there's a lot more, since my time, there's a lot more people who are not afraid to come out. Remember, in Africa, there's still a lot of stigma. There's a lot of cultural beliefs that it's an arrow from the village. God is punishing you. So there's a different concept. So I think and as more survivors are coming out and showing that you can beat the disease, it's changing. This cancer is not a death sentence. And for many, many years, when I was diagnosed, they assumed that if you get cancer, you're going to die. So we're really working hard now to get cancer survivors to come out and say they're not ashamed. Because there's something like, I think the risk is self-stigmatization. When you hide your diagnosis, you're stigmatizing yourself. You're making yourself into a victim. Whereas if you come out and talk about it, those who don't like you will leave. And you're left with people who actually care. And then you're not worried anymore about having to remember who to tell, not to tell, what to do. You can't fight the world and fight cancer. You need to clear the table, get it out there, and then focus on beating cancer.
Do you have any side effects that actually you like about having cancer?
I had medical side effects that weren't very good. But I'll say side effects in terms of not a side effect, but a positive that came out of my cancer is that my faith grew much stronger. Because I understood that my cancer journey could be turned from pain to purpose. So I'd say that what has come out of it is I'm much closer to God, and not very much phases me anymore. You know, when you've gone down that cancer journey and you've looked death in the face, suddenly nothing seems that bad anymore. Having survived cancer, it makes you realize that life is a gift. You don't take tomorrow for granted anymore. You live your best life. You don't keep grudges. I don't carry things into the next day anymore. So I'd say definitely my faith has grown much, much stronger. And I've just learned to love life, live my best life.
Do you know many cancer survivors, and how can you describe them in one word?
I know, because, I grew up with a mother who had cancer. I was with a mother who had cancer 4 times. And then I set up a foundation in 2016 with my business partner whose father died of prostate cancer. So my mother died of leukemia. His father died of prostate cancer. I had cancer. So we set up a foundation. So over the years, hundreds of cancer patients. And one thing I'll say about cancer patients in Nigeria, it's that they're very resilient. Because what you find is that here we don't have all the fancy things that you have over there in Europe and everywhere else, where you have all the support structures. And what I find is that they're very close. Cancer survivors stick to each other.
Can you tell us a little bit about your NGO?
So basically, our NGO is focused on all cancers, and no matter the stage of the disease. So we assist with funding, although now we're looking at moving the focus from looking for funding to trying to focus on changing policy. That means everybody has access to care. Because you can talk as much as you want to talk. If it's not in the policy, you're wasting your time. So we're focusing more on turning from advocacy, talking to paper, because if it's not in the policy, you're not going to get it. So we're now in discussions and looking at how can we change policies. Only 7-8% people are covered by health insurance in Nigeria. So 90% of people are paying out of pocket. And even the health insurance we have here doesn't have very wide cancer coverage. So we have to look at how do we get everybody on health insurance, and how do we get the health insurance to cover cancer? Because you can't keep paying out of pocket. I think that's a really important thing. And then we do training as well. So we train doctors, nurses, and healthcare workers in cancer awareness, end of life, and palliation. We were really blessed that we partnered with Macmillan Cancer Support UK about 7 years ago, and we built a local training in that particular area. We also run a food bank because we discovered that when patients you're funding somebody's treatment, but the problem with funding somebody's treatment is that they don't have any food in their house. They couldn't afford the treatment, so chances are they have no food. As soon as we started focusing on feeding the patient and the family members, we no longer pay for blood transfusions. They were doing better. The families were doing better. Everybody was happier. So we run food bank. We've expanded it to not just people who have treatments. It's once you're a cancer survivor, even if you finished your treatment and you need food support, we give food support. Another thing that we also do is that we do quite a lot of educational awareness. Talking about cancer, we give out free mastectomy wear. We've given out over 600 mastectomy bras, breast prosthesis, because we have partners who are mastectomy companies. And we are raising funds for micro grants to give to cancer survivors to be able to get their businesses back, to restart their businesses after cancer. And this is micro grants for cancer survivors to get back on their feet after they finish their treatment.
What is the dumbest thing or stupidest thing someone have ever told you about having cancer?
Okay, I can tell you something. Just after my surgery, maybe a couple of months after, I had managed to get confidence to go back to the gym. So I put on my little gym top, put in my prosthesis, made sure they were not going to fall out because I had a double mastectomy. So I wear external prosthesis. And when I noticed when I was in the gym, there was this group of women who were a bit chubby looking at me and pointing and looking at me. And I thought, okay, I ignored them. When I got to the changing room, they confronted me. They said, oh, there you are. You're so skinny and you've just come to make us feel bad about ourselves and blah, 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 blah. And you know what I did? I took off my breasts. And they almost collapsed. One of them started crying. They were begging. They didn't know. I said, look, you can't judge a book by its cover. Looking at me, you don't know the courage it took me to come to the gym, knowing I had no breasts and I was wearing prosthesis. So I said, look, there's no point. I said, there's no point in crying, but you stop judging people. You judged me because you thought I looked slim. You didn't realize I was coming from a cancer diagnosis. You didn't realize I had removed my breast to save my life. So why did you judge me? So that thing was really kind of weird. I told them that I forgive them and everything else. And they need to take a lesson from that you don't know anybody's story. Don't judge.
Can you tell me in one word something that you were like this before having cancer and that you are still like this after having cancer?
I've always been somebody who is very compassionate. I've always grown up in environments where I've helped people who needed things. If anything, I've become even more compassionate because of the journey I've gone through. So nothing has changed. If anything, having cancer has given me an even larger platform to do more good, if that makes any sense. I really feel that everybody has a right to quality of life, and where you can't save them, they have a right to dignity in death. And that is my mission, to make sure that every patient I come across has the ability to have some sort of quality of life, no matter how long that life is. And also in the event that they cannot be saved, have dignity in their passing. I think that's so important.
Something else that you want to share with the community or people to know?
I think the only thing I'd like to say is that own your journey. Don't let anybody tell you what you can and can't do. I think ultimately it's your story. Write it.
Thank you so much. And see
You're very welcome. Thank you so much for having me. And you just look after yourself. And well done on the fantastic work you're doing.
Do you like this video? Well, give us a thumbs up and share it with others. And thank you for watching all the video. Thank you. Bye-bye.